Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the Irish NFL Show, which is now proudly part of the Believe Network. One of the benefits of the clocks going forward at the weekend, of course, is that it brought us a little bit more quickly to Monday night into a conversation we were very much looking forward to having. With us is two-time head coach of the year and three-time Super Bowl winner, once as head coach of the Bucs and twice, once as wide receivers coach and then as offensive coordinator for the Steelers. Bruce Arians, welcome to the Irish NFL Show, Coach.
It's great to be there, brother. Good to see you.
You're on fire. The smoke detector's going off in the background there.
Yeah, for sure, man. We're having some work done. He's got one more to go.
Good stuff. It's great to have you with us and great to see you looking so healthy. I know you'd flagged you needed to have a procedure just before the Super Bowl, but you're looking well on it, and we hope you're having a speedy recovery.
Yeah, everything's going great. Yeah, I had an aneurysm that was a little bit bigger than they thought it was, and got it all done and doing fantastic on the recovery right now. So
you were saying just before we started recording that you're officially retired now. There's no talking you out of that, is there?
No, I failed at it twice, but I'm going to make it this time.
Failed retirement. I love that phrase. That's a great way to look at it. Gives you a lot more time to watch ball, though, right? And hopefully it's a little bit less stressful observing than it was on the sidelines as a coach.
Yeah, it really is. I still get mad at the officials, but yeah, I got one of those marshmallow bricks you can throw at the TV, so I'm good.
Well, you got mad at the officials, which is an interesting topic of discussion in and of itself right now, because it looks like we may have replacement refs for the season ahead. You've lived through the last time that happened and the Fail Mary and that whole controversy. Hopefully that can be avoided before the season starts.
Yeah, I think so. You know, with there's so much new technology, these guys will have so much more help with New York in their ear, and it'd be so much easier for replacement officials to operate than it was back then.
What do you think of the prospects? And let's start, if you don't mind, first of all, with the Bucs, your most recent team. What do you think of the prospects for the season ahead? Couple of interesting departures in the offseason, and obviously, first and foremost, Lavonte David retiring. He spoke very warmly about you and about Todd Bowles, saying he was one eye out the exit door in Tampa when you guys arrived, and you both managed to convince him to stay. You must have sweet talked him pretty good.
Yeah, you know, he wasn't sure. He always played in that 4-3 defense. He wasn't sure how he fit in. And Todd did a great job of talking to him. And, you know, I talked to him about how much I was going to lean on him because I depend on my veterans. And, man, he's one of the best I've ever leaned on, and fantastic leader. And the Bucs, that's one guy they will miss, along with Mike Evans.
Yeah, and Todd Bowles was saying that you know, he spoke about Lavonte David's impact in the locker room, such a culture guy at that, and that was very evident during your Super Bowl season.
Yeah, you know, he's a very quiet guy, but when he speaks, everybody listens. And you know, that was the year that you know, we had COVID, we had all the restrictions, and Lavonte was a big help in keeping that locker room straight and keeping the guys not doing things they shouldn't till they could play. And we had to beat the virus before we could beat another team, and he was a big part of that.
Those were some big challenges to overcome. What was that season like? It was so disrupted. It was, you know, so unusual, unprecedented. You guys managed to get through it, and you cope with the adversity better than anyone else.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. You know, down in Florida, I never did one Zoom call. We were able to meet outside, eat outside, stay together as a team. Unlike some of the teams up north, once it got cold, our owners built outdoor locker rooms, outdoor eating rooms, and meeting rooms, and did a great job of knowing that we had to beat the virus before we could beat anybody else in the league. And I think we only had 3 guys miss a little bit of time, and it was a great job. They accepted the challenge extremely well in our locker room.
You mentioned that not only Lavonte David gone now, but Mike Evans obviously traded to the 49ers. That's a big loss. Another player who was very important during your time.
Yeah, Mike's a huge, great player, great person. everybody knows the great player he is, but he's an even better person off the field, and he'll be sorely missed. He decided he wanted a new challenge, and we respect that. He's done so much for the Tampa area and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that we wish him all the best.
With the NFC South set up the way it is, you still think the Bucs have a good shot at winning next year?
Oh, definitely. With Baker coming back, and then Emeka Buka and Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, we've got a good group of receivers, even with Mike gone. Lavonte will be the harder one to replace, but I think Todd's going to do a great job of revamping the defense. So we gave up too many leads last year, and we've got to do a better job of that.
When you spoke about throwing your marshmallow brick at the screen, I was thinking of how angry Todd was in that press conference. I saw him being asked about it today at the league meeting in Phoenix, and he was saying, "Look, God damn it, I care."
Yeah, exactly. And if you didn't care, you wouldn't get so upset. So I think people think Todd is so laid back he never gets upset, but he can let it go. I promise you.
He did that day, but to your point, with good reason, having given up a 2-possession lead against the Falcons in a game which really would have given the Bucs the inside track for the NFC South.
Yeah, that was a huge loss. Lose to the Saints and the Falcons back to back in a division, and it was have the lead and then give it up like that. Hasn't happened very often.
It's one of the more interesting divisions in the league now, and it's really set up nicely for next year. Obviously, you have the Panthers resurgent. Saints probably did a lot better than a lot of people looking on the outside expected in Kellen Moore's first season in charge. They may have a guy at quarterback.
Yeah, no doubt. Tyler Shough, he looked really good against us. He can run. He's fast. He's accurate. Yeah, I think they found a gem in him.
You got a crop of really nice young quarterbacks in the league right now. Obviously, Drake May taking the Patriots to the Super Bowl, overcoming Bo Nix in the AFC Championship game. You got Jaden Daniels. We hope to see him back at his best after the injury. Caleb Williams in a breakout season with the Bears. If I put you on the spot, which of all those young guys would you most like to build a team around?
Yeah, it's hard to believe Patrick's not young, and Josh Allen, because they're still just 30. I think when you look at where the league is in such great shape, and I love Drake May coming out, and I'd probably have to pick Drake, but Baker's just still 29, so I'll probably stick with Baker right now.
What was it that made you pick Drake out of that pack? What's he got?
I think he had all the measurables. When you looked at those guys coming out that season, there were a lot of good athletic quarterbacks. He was an extremely good athlete, but he's also 6'5" and could really spin it. I think that separated him from me over the 6'1", 6'2" guys. Jaden Daniels, tremendous athlete, is getting more and more accurate now. And, once he decides to quit running so he can play 17 games, that'll be good for the Commanders also.
As great a season as it was for the Patriots and for Drake, I mean, we were lucky enough on the Irish NFL show to get to the Super Bowl, and I was up close with Drake when he gave his post-game press conference. But your heart goes out to a guy in those circumstances. That's a big load on young shoulders, and it's how he responds to that, I guess, it'll define where he goes now as a quarterback in the league.
Yeah, and that Seattle defense is a very, very hard one to decipher. They do such a great job of matching their coverages, and they didn't have great protection. It was going to take him a little time to figure it out, and they didn't have the protection. And hopefully they'll get that fixed, and I think the Patriots are going to be in great, great shape. Mike Vrabel is one hell of a coach.
This is Mike Bolo of Lexicon Valley.
And I'm Bob Garfield. Are you one of those people who sometimes uses words?
Do you communicate or acquire information with, language?
Hey, us too. So join us on Lexicon Valley to chew over the history, culture, and many mysteries of English, plus some wisecracks.
Find us on one of those apps where people listen to podcasts.
It was very interesting to see that matchup in the Super Bowl of two defensive-minded head coaches. And you mentioned how good that Seahawks defense was last year. And I'm thinking back to when your Bucs team won the Super Bowl. I mean, you had to have a plan for the Chiefs and for Patrick Mahomes, which you executed to perfection. And you see the Seahawks, that they're built to get through that division, right? Which is, such a formidable one when you got Sean McVay's offense in there, you got Kyle Shanahan's offense in there. You've got to be able to lock down that side of the ball, and they seem to have been battle hardened coming out of that cauldron.
There's no doubt. And, they got their running game going, which really helped Sam Darnold. Sam played extremely well, but that running game really, really helped everything. Kept the defense off the field a little bit. And, but yeah, that defense is legit, especially up there. You get that 12th man going, and the crowd noise is unbelievable. But yeah, I think the West right now probably is the toughest division.
I've heard a lot of commentary, as people are looking back on the season and looking back at that Seahawks team about how that is the modern incarnation of how you can build a defense. So you don't necessarily need to have a Myles Garrett. You don't need a guy who's going to get you 15 plus sacks a season. If you can build a team like that, which seems like a big if to me, with talent across all those positions, with that speed, with that aggression, with the violence that they bring to the game, it's a very interesting template.
It really is. I mean, they do such a great job in the back end. And I think that's where they're overlooked. People don't realize how good they are in the back end. And that allows that front four, front seven to hunt. They did a really good job with their blitz package against Drake. And the front four really got after the New England offensive line.
And when you talk about the big sack leaders, I know that the annual league meeting is happening in Phoenix at the moment. There's still a lot of talk about the unraveling of that Max Crosby trade. I heard Sean McVay just talking about it there in a clip just before we came on. I mean, it's not unprecedented for a team to back out of a trade for medical reasons, but I don't think we've ever seen one of that magnitude with so much on the line. I would be very interested in your take on that. It's a big deal, and the ramifications for both teams are significant.
Yeah, I think you'd like to be able to do the physical before you do the trade. That way, none of this would happen. If we could get that rule changed a little bit, so we could find out once the trade's made, it's made. And but yeah, it has happened in the past, and it will continue to happen. I think Espinoza from the Bills just backed out. The Browns backed out of his deal.
Saw that, yeah.
And before you start signing these guys, let's do the physicals first.
It does. It's an interesting point that you raise, and we talked about it on the show at the time. These are teams that are owned by extremely successful business people who do this day in, day out in their day jobs, right? You don't acquire a company or acquire an asset without doing due diligence, and yet you go to the NFL, and to your point, you negotiate a trade without actually making sure that you've had a chance to look at the player's physical.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. I think there's a couple of things that need to be fixed, and I think that's one of them. And then obviously with the officials getting that contract where they're under the shield, the officials have to be held accountable, and they're not held accountable right now.
One of the things that we've seen during the off season, Bruce, is the flag football tournament. We saw your guy Tom Brady still can sling that ball around and still looking pretty good, to the point where people obviously asked him, would he consider another failed retirement, to use the phrase you used at the top. You think Tom could still play in the league?
He can play flag football. I don't know about when they're chasing him and hitting him. That's a whole different story. And but he can. The one thing for sure, Tom can still sling it. Now, whether or not he can upstand the hits and the beatings that it takes sometimes, he'd have to have one hell of an offensive line out of that.
What was it like when you guys finally got that deal over the line, when you knew you were bringing Tom to Tampa?
Oh, it was elation. First of all, I never thought he'd ever leave New England. And then as the thing started to unravel, we got very, very excited. And because he was the missing piece. We had a very good football team. Some guys didn't know how good we were. And then Tom came in and kind of convinced them, hey, I chose this team because we're good and we can win it all.
I'd be very interested in getting your take on a story that kind of irked me over the past couple of months, which was that Todd Monken's age was made an issue on joining the Browns. There's a lot of commentary to the fact of, Todd Monken's turning 60. How can a guy like that relate to younger players? And I'm thinking, I don't think anybody objected to Andy Reid or to you taking over their teams and to results at the other end. It seems like a bit of nonsense here. I know the fashion is that you hire a young whiz kid who can bring a whole new spin to your offense, but you look at how his offenses have done consistently over the past few years. They're right up there with the Ben Johnson offenses, with the Sean McVay offenses. This guy can coach.
Oh, there's no doubt. Monk is one of the best there is, and he's a great play caller. I think he's great with the players, and that gets overblown. I was looking at the Elite Eight in basketball, and I think 6 of the coaches were 70 or older. And everybody said they can't relate to younger players. Well, the younger players, they like the truth and they like discipline. and they like being coached. So I think they respect that, and Monk will definitely do a great job in Cleveland.
It is an interesting point, though, isn't it? Because you look at the success, like you mentioned, right, like the Caliparis that you've had in the NFL, that other coaches, like the excitement in New York that Harbaugh's going there, and the idea that guys who are above a certain age can't relate to younger players really does seem to be nonsense. Good coaching is good coaching.
It really is, and it doesn't matter if it's male, female, black, white, brown, doesn't matter. If you can make a player better, that's all they want to know. How are you going to make me better? And it has nothing to do with age. Tom Moore is one of the brightest guys at 86, and the players love him. They're in his office every morning at 5:30 to get his knowledge. So I mean, that was another big loss for the Bucs this year when Tom retired.
We saw one of your former coaching colleagues, Mike Tomlin, when we were lucky enough to see the Steelers play in the first ever regular season game to take place in Ireland last year at Croke Park. We were struck on the show here and as fans in general by the way Coach Tomlin approached everything about that game, by how much he'd done his homework on Ireland. He charmed everybody here, and they go out and they win the game, of course, as well. I know they've brought in Mike McCarthy, and he's a Pittsburgh native, and there's a feel-good factor about that. But that's a big decision in Pittsburgh to let Mike go.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, when you think about the NFC North or the AFC North, and Kevin Stefanski's Coach of the Year, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, all gone. So you got a whole new division. Zach Taylor was almost all gone, but he saved it. So. It's going to be very, very different, and I was really happy to see Mike get that job in Pittsburgh. I think he'll do a hell of a job.
It's the end of an era, though, for Coach Tomlin. What was it like to coach with him? You guys managed to win a Super Bowl together, so it went pretty well.
Yeah, it was very good, and very, very bright guy. He did a great job with his team, always having him ready to play, and Mike's a great orator, so he's fantastic when it comes to the press. He'll do a great job on television.
We're hoping to have whether the Steelers obviously will be more than welcome back, but any other combination of teams that we can get back in Dublin. We don't have a game for the upcoming season, but fingers crossed it'll come again. Do you ever get over to any of the international games yourself?
I didn't. The last time the Bucs went to Munich, my wife had her knee replaced, so I couldn't go with them. And I was really looking forward to it. Most of my family's from that region. So I was looking forward to going to the game in Munich, and my son went and said it was the best one he's ever been to. So, yeah, I hope to get back over, and I wouldn't mind catching a Manchester United soccer game either.
Oh, we have a couple of United fans on the show here, so they'll be very happy to hear that, to hear you say that, Bruce. And maybe we get you to Dublin at some point in the future as well.
You bet. Love it.
Coach Arians, thanks so much for joining us on the Irish NFL show, and hopefully we will get to see you in person at some point.
That sounds great, my man. All the best to everybody over there.
Every day, the world gets a little weirder and a lot more awesome. Cool Stuff Daily takes a look at everything from mining in space to the latest in the fight against cancer to how AI is, basically changing everything. It's all the cool stuff you didn't know you needed to know. Join us for Cool Stuff Daily as we take a quick look at science, tech, and the wait, what stories that make you sound way smarter at dinner. Subscribe to Cool Stuff Daily now, because the future's happening fast, and it's way too fun to miss.